I've listened to Synchronicity by the Police for a year.
And I listened to it once yesterday.
Welcome to Spin It. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Spin It, the record ranking podcast for people who'd rather be listening to music. New year. I guess the new year was last week, but it's still a newer year, and it's still the same old podcast. I'm James. With me is Connor.
It's me.
Yes, and this week, it's Police Week. Oh, I'm so excited.
Wee.
I can hear them. They're almost here. They're on the way.
They're probably coming for the mixtaper.
Probably, to arrest him for all of his dastardly deeds. Have you ever had any run-ins with the police?
I've had a parking ticket.
A parking ticket? I mostly meant, have you ever heard the police music?
Yeah, I know the police. Please.
Did you say please or police? Yeah, I figured you'd know some of the police, though. Classic rock guy that you are.
Classic rock guy.
But first, let's talk about this parking ticket. Where'd you park?
Actually, I guess it wasn't a parking ticket, was it? It was a speeding ticket.
Those are completely the opposite. Like, fully the opposite thing.
Yeah.
How fast were you going? The statute of limitations is passed, right? You can talk about this.
Yeah, I'm forgetting where the limit is now, but it was 2 miles per hour under the must show up to court limit.
It was 2 miles under the must show up to court limit, so you got out of it by 2 miles an hour?
Well, I still got the ticket, but it was like just paid online. But if the guy was like, if you've been going 2 miles more, you would have been forced to appear in court because it would have been considered like reckless.
Well, like, where were you speeding? Was it like in a city or out on a freeway?
No, it wasn't even on the freeway. It was out on a country road.
Okay, a place where you almost always can get away with speeding.
Yeah, and sure couldn't this time.
No.
Went flying past a cop going the other way. He whipped it around, and I was late to pick up my sister. Mm-hmm. It's her fault, really.
I think that makes sense. Maybe it was a sting operation.
Oh.
Yeah. Actually, that's what this police is. That's what the band Police is.
You know what they say? Float like a butterfly.
Be like Sting.
Sing like Sting.
Nice. That's pretty good. But being like Sting would be cool, because then you'd be the front man of the legendary new wave trio, The Police. But you can sing like Sting, and that would work too, because then you'd also still be like Sting if you're singing like Sting.
Yeah. I actually just had a really recent run-in with Sting.
With Sting? Oh, I thought you were going to say another run-in with the police. I was like, whoa, more than the speeding ticket? What did you have a run-in with Sting for?
Well, I recently got into the last season of The Voice, where Sting was on as a mega coach.
Oh.
And then also came back for like one of the finals nights, and all the finalists did like a Sting/Police cover of a song while Sting played bass.
That's pretty cool.
And then he sang a song with Snoop Dogg that they just released together.
Snoop Dogg and Sting?
Yeah.
Man, the police really have stopped cracking down on drugs. That's fun. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah.
So, like, that's new Sting. But what about the police?
Yeah.
Like old music. What police stuff do you know from the 80s and the 70s?
What don't I know?
No, but you have to know some. You said you were familiar with the police.
Yeah, I do know some. Yeah, I do know.
They've got some big hits. If you just, every breath you take, at least, you know.
Oh, absolutely. Come on.
Do you know how I know that?
Yeah, no, I don't.
Because every step you take, every move you make, I've been watching you.
All right, I should have seen that coming.
You should have. What else? Do you know stuff from Ghost in the Machine? Every little thing she does is magic? Older? Message in a Bottle? I know somebody, I have a good friend who Message in a Bottle is like her favorite song, period. And that surprises me. It's a good song, but for it to be like the favorite song, I was like, wow, that's an interesting fact about you that I've learned. Do you perhaps know Roxanne?
Yeah, no, I know a lot of police songs, most all the ones you've named, but I'm looking for something specific here.
Oh, a specific police song.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
What'd you find?
One of my earliest run-ins was Sting, and I guess you could say one of my earliest run-ins with the police was in 2008.
As a child, you were just a kid.
Yeah, 2008 Connor.
2008, I had my first run-in with the police.
2008 Connor played Guitar Hero World Tour, where a 3D rendered Sting is present.
Arrested his attention. Wow. So you're saying that in 2008, you got arrested by Sting? You got arrested by the police?
Correct.
Wow. The more you know.
I also feel like Roxanne was on Rock Band.
Rock
I
Band.
remember playing Roxanne on something, and I think it was maybe Rock Band.
Almost certainly.
It wasn't on Guitar Hero 3 Legends of Rock, which was my main and go-to Guitar Hero.
Well, let's talk about the police. Since the beginning of Law and Order, we've needed people to enforce the laws. Maybe that's a little too far back to go.
Maybe a little too far.
Well, yeah. Let's instead go way back to the good old days of September 25th, 1976. You remember those good old days.
The good old days.
Yes. Well, on September 25th, 1976, there's a pair of bands on tour in London, England. One band is called Curved Air, with a drummer by the name of Stewart Copeland, and another is a jazz rock fusion band called Last Exit, with a I almost said stinger. Look what this is going to happen to me all episode. They have a singer, not a stinger, and they have a bassist by the name of Gordon Sumner, who of course you may know better as Sting.
Whoa.
Yeah, old Gord.
Oh, Gord.
Well, those two get connected, right? Sting and Stewart Copeland. They set up a jam session, and they decided that they wanted to start their own band to play punk music and new wave kind of stuff. Sting said, I was inspired by the amazing energy of the whole thing, and I thought, well, I'm new to London, and I'm totally unknown, so I'll give it a go. We did a 15-minute lightning set, and I squealed and screamed. He was giddy.
Squealed like a pig.
Yeah, he was.
He's part of the police, the pigs.
Oh, that's funny. Well, squealed.
Yeah.
Wow, what a connection. Sting was giddy the first time he played with Stu Copeland, though. That's exciting. That's fun. But of course, they don't want to be a duo act with bass and drums, right? They need a little more structure. So they recruit guitarist Henry Padovani into the lineup. Then they name themselves the Police. The name, of course, would stick. The lineup, of course, would not. They only recorded one single together and did a local tour as an opener with Padovani. They very quickly found guitarist Andy Summers. And they said, you want to join this band? You, sir, you have a lot more playing and industry experience. And that'll be really good for us. Because, you know, at the time, Padovani, he's got more quote-unquote rudimentary skills. Andy Summers says, you know what? You need me? Sure, I'll join the band, but here are my conditions. We have to be a trio, and you have to kick the other guy out. And they said, what? That's a big demand. Are you sure? And they tried to make it work. They tried to resist. They even played 2 shows as a 4-piece band. But in the end, Summers was like, nope, this ain't it. And he laid down the law in true Police fashion, and they had to let Padovani go. He didn't even get a last phone call. But wow, what a change it made pretty immediately. Copeland said one by one, Sting's songs had started coming in, and when Andy joined, it opened up new numbers of Stings that we could do. So the material started to get a lot more interesting, and Sting started to take a lot more interest in the group. It really becomes like a feasible project instead of just a little band that they're gigging around town with. They start to see that this thing has some legs. So they started to flirt with artsier rock, right? They incorporate elements of jazz and reggae and prog rock into their sound to make this really unique blend that they'd go on to be known for down the line. And they also became known for their very, very blonde hair dye. That all came about because they were offered some money to do a commercial for Wrigley's Bubblegum. And in the commercial, they had to dye their hair blonde. They did it for the gig, for the money, and they just kept doing it until it became a staple. Suddenly, the Police were the blonde-haired guys. They had kind of sold out before they were even well known.
It's the best time to do it.
Yeah, right. Then nobody can accuse you of being a sellout later. You're like, nope, we've done this since the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
What would it take? What would Wrigley's Gum have to do for you to dye your hair super duper blonde?
I used to be super duper blonde.
Yeah, that's true. So I guess it probably wouldn't take much.
Yeah, 2008 Connor was probably blonde.
Super duper blonde. Police blonde.
I don't know about police blonde, but 2004 Connor was probably police blonde.
Wow. I've never been blonde at all. Any of it.
That's why I'm so dumb.
It all makes sense. Well, the trio recorded their first record, Outlandos d'Amour, on a small budget and with no record contract. They got a small loan of £1,500 from Stewart Copeland's brother Miles, and they had to book recording times at off hours in the studio above a dairy. They were making music up above the milk. Well, their financier, Miles Copeland, is listening to them record up above this little dairy. He hears them play Roxanne for the first time during one of their sessions, and he is floored, gobsmacked. He's chuffed. What is chuffed is good, right? It's not bad. He loves Roxanne, is what I'm saying. He gets the Police connected with A&M Records, who signed them pretty much solely based on the strength of Roxanne alone. Like, that one song is good enough to get them a career. They put Roxanne out as a single in early 1978, and it didn't chart or get much airplay on the BBC, which makes a lot of sense because of its prostitution-y subject matter, and it's the BBC. But honestly, the BBC kind of blacklisting them did them a little bit of a favor because they started getting a lot of effective promo for the song when they said, hey, this song's banned by the BBC. And everyone went, oh, really?
It's kind of like, didn't that happen with Billy Joel?
Yeah, and the Catholic Church. They said,
Yeah.
you shouldn't listen to Only the Good Die Young. And he said, look at this. The Catholic Church hates this. And everyone went, oh, what's this?
Ooh, I gotta hear this.
I must observe, got to get in on the controversy, the drama. Yeah, the police did the same thing. So that kind of backfired by the BBC. Other police singles started to gain traction over time too, riding that Roxanne wave, until Can't Stand Losing You turned into their breakthrough UK hit. It peaked at number 2 on the singles charts over there. Their second record, Regatta de Blanc, managed to top the UK albums chart, and it's the one that produced big hits like Walking on the Moon and Message in a Bottle, both of which went to number 1 in the UK. Their first hits over there. Number 1 hits anyway. The title track also won them a Grammy for Best Rock Instrumental Performance, which is exciting. That record sent the band on a big old world tour, and it led to a concert film. Their third record, man, the Police have a knack for titling records and things that you're never quite sure if you're pronouncing it the right way. But their third record is called Zenyatta Mondata.
Sounds about right.
I think it's about right. Yeah. It came out in 1980. It featured the single Don't Stand So Close to Me, probably another Police song that you know, right?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. It did not quite perform as well as their previous 2 records, but Zenyatta Mondata still made it into the top 5 and won them 2 more Grammys, so really you can't complain that much. The Police's 4th record, Ghost in the Machine, was almost the subject of this episode. I mean, I was so, once again, just on the fence about whether to bring Synchronicity or Ghost in the Machine. I obviously ended up leaning the other way at the end of the day towards Synchronicity, but I really think we might have to backtrack Ghost and just sort that all out. Because Ghost in the Machine is an incredibly strong record. It's just very, like, kind of different.
I'm down to backtrack the Police.
Yeah.
I like them.
I think that's a good idea. Because Synchronicity and Ghost are very different records in a lot of ways. They didn't come out far apart, but obviously there's a lot of stylistic changes that happen in a short time. Ghost in the Machine, which again you may see in a backtrack in the coming days, Ghost in the Machine was produced in the Caribbean. It got a few hits like Invisible Sun and Spirits in the Material World, and Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic. Impossible not to sing, right?
I wouldn't say impossible, but
hard.
really hard.
Yeah, I just didn't feel like trying not to sing it right there.
Like if the police told me I'd be arrested if I sang along, I think I could resist.
Right. Why would they arrest you for singing their song?
But then if the police told me to sing along to their song, I don't know which police I'd listen to.
Oh, if the police threatened to arrest you, not the trio, the police, like law enforcement, threatened to arrest you, you could not do it. But if the police, like Sting and company, said, sing our song, and then the cops said, don't you do it, it'd be a tough call.
It'd be a tough call.
Good to know.
That's what I'm here for. Weird, obscure hypotheticals.
Honestly, they work sometimes, hypothetically. Ghost in the Machine topped the UK charts. Across the pond in the US, it went to number 2, and it also sent the Police into a bit of a film career, because it too spawned a concert film, and Sting started acting in stuff like a series based on The Who's Quadrophenia, and movies like Dune. Did you know Sting was in Dune?
Yeah.
Oh, good. The old Dune, not the new one with Timothée Chalamet.
No, yeah. That would be cool if he was in both.
Ah, 2 Dunes.
Sitting in a hot tub.
Yeah, Sting's only in 1 Dune, but it's the old one.
Gross.
Yeah. He was also in Radio On and a lot more stuff. Sting gets into acting. After a little bit of a break for time to work on those projects, the Police came back together in 1983 to get to work on what would become their last studio album and the subject of the episode you're currently a few minutes into listening to, Synchronicity. The band took a lot of inspiration for Synchronicity from a 1972 book called The Roots of Coincidence by Arthur Kessler. Sting was a big Kessler fan, and he really wanted to incorporate some of his philosophical ideas into the fabric of this album. And it also represented a big shift from the kind of music they were making, too. Like I said, Ghost is really different. On Synchronicity, they start to move away from reggae, which is a thing that they did a surprising amount of in the past. But they moved towards this larger, more sweeping, synth-driven sort of sound, right? A lot more like ambient soundscapes and wide, loosely flowing style on Synchronicity that's not there on their previous stuff. Sting said, I enjoyed making Ghost in the Machine and playing with the tools of the studio, just building things up and sticking more vocals on. Great fun. But listening to it, I thought, hey, my voice on its own sounds as good as 15 overdubs, so I'll try it on its own. And he said, I'm glad we did Ghost, I don't regret it, but it was time to change the regime again. So that's kind of the mindset that led into Synchronicity, right? They were happy with Ghost, but they thought we could do it differently. Synchronicity is also the first time Sting messed around with a sequencer for a record, so that's also fun. To record the album, the Police spent 6 weeks in a studio in Montserrat in the Caribbean, and then they mixed and mastered it up in Canada. Again, tax loopholes. Everybody goes to the Caribbean to record for tax loopholes, and the Police were no exception.
Well, yeah, they know the law.
Better than anyone, probably. Well, the Police should know the law better than anyone, right?
Well,
it's hit or miss, but boy, the Police, the band, sure know tax law. So they head down to the Caribbean. They recorded most of the tracks for Synchronicity live, but in separate rooms. They basically connected each room with mics and video feeds, and they wanted clean sound for each of their instruments. So that's why they did it. They also wanted a little more control over their recording environment. I think some things in the band were getting a little contentious at that point, so they wanted a little more elbow room between the three of them as they were recording. Sting said, in my case, it's because there's nothing worse than hearing a bass through a set of headphones. Basically, it sounds like a frog farting. He said, I play much better when the sound coming out of the instrument is rich and warm. If we played together like that in the same room, we wouldn't be able to hear anything except for the drum, because the guitarist has to have a lot of volume to hit a certain level of distortion, or passion, or emotion. He said, I play in the studio next to the engineer, so I can hear the instruments balanced and mixed roughly as they'll sound on the record. So that's a cool feature. They do a bunch of takes, run through the songs a bunch of times, and then they would blend and bounce all of the best takes and the best parts of takes into one master backing track before doing all the overdubs, which is really cool. You know, the bass part on the bridge on take 3 was really good, but the bass part on the chorus was better on take 6. Well, I'll smush them together and we'll get the best possible bass take from all these different attempts. And that will be the backing track that we'll build on. That's a really effective way to make a record.
fair enough.
Synchronicity came out on June 17th, 1983. In the UK, it spent 2 weeks at number 1. Over in the US, it peaked at number 1 in late July, and it spent 17 non-consecutive weeks there. In Canada, it broke the previous record by staying at number 1 for 24 consecutive weeks. It dethroned the previous record holder, Saturday Night Fever. That's the one with Staying Alive. So you could tell the musical tides are turning in the Great White North. Synchronicity actually would have the most weeks at number 1 in Canada out of any music until Adele broke it with her record 21.
Oh.
Yeah, we talked about that in episode 143, but it was the Police, and they held that record from the 80s until Adele. That's pretty cool. It seems like critics at the time weren't overly impressed with Synchronicity or just with the Police in general. It's got generally pretty positive reviews, but, you know, just as the last album, a known last album of a band that's already making like new wave kind of experimental stuff, critics were like, eh.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, I know.
They were like, eh?
Eh.
Was that their official stance?
Yeah, all the critics came together and they voted on it, drafted a statement, and published it. Eh.
And that statement was, eh.
Yeah, that's not really true. That's not what happened.
Dude, imagine though, like I'm just imagining like a food critic or whatever that's like super famous, like for like their reviews.
Yeah.
And then they go and they eat this place and they just post one word, eh.
Like,
what a scathing review.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal.
You weren't even worth the time to write how bad you were.
Dang, when you put it like that, yeah, that's especially bad. But it would probably, just like all the BBC banning stuff, it would probably make a bunch of people go to your restaurant. Be like, oh, we got to try the food that's so bad this critic won't even write about it. But despite that scathing critique, or at least the scathing critical sentiment, Synchronicity did earn a ton of awards. It was Rolling Stone's Album of the Year. It earned a Grammy for Best Rock Performance by a Group with the Vocal. And it was even nominated for Album of the Year. It lost, deservingly so, to Thriller. So you can't compete with Thriller, right? Was it 1983, by the way, was a tough year for Album of the Year.
I bet.
I looked the list up. There's a lot of really good stuff in 83. And then 1984 is like the worst Grammy Album of the Year you've ever seen. But anyway.
Man, a couple people should have just delayed their song a couple months.
Could have, yeah, got a special Grammy for it. But at that year, they also won Song of the Year for Every Breath You Take and Best Pop Performance. And Every Breath You Take was nominated for Record of the Year, but it lost, guess what, to Beat It. Because of course, Synchronicity did make it into the Grammy Hall of Fame in 2009. And it lands pretty well on greatest album lists nowadays, too. Rolling Stone put Synchronicity at number 455 on their greatest albums of all time list initially, but over time it's placed as high as number 159, and VH1 called it one of the top 50 greatest albums in rock and roll. In 2003, Synchronicity made it into the Library of Congress's National Recording Registry, and that's really cool. The tour that the Police went on in support of Synchronicity was enormous. The band got to play for 70,000 fans in Shea Stadium, which they compared to the Beatles, and they said it felt like, quote, conquering America. They also sold out 4 nights at Wembley Arena in London. I mean, the Synchronicity tour was huge. Also, one little last Synchronicity trivia tidbit before we move on with the Police's career. For its 40th anniversary, Synchronicity got a 6 CD box set. 6 CDs. That special anniversary edition has 55 previously unreleased tracks, 36 demo versions, and a live show. It's enormous. It came out in July of 2024.
Wow.
The Super Deluxe Edition is about 5.5 hours.
Jeez.
Yeah, if you really like Synchronicity, boy, you could hit it hard on that Deluxe Edition. Wow. But by the time they put out Synchronicity, the Police were being hailed as the biggest band in the world. That's what people were saying. But the bigger they are, the harder they fall. The band, and especially Sting, decided that they had peaked, and he left the Police to go on and pursue a solo career. They all took off on different paths, different adventures, but it was pretty amicable, pretty friendly. Sting and Stewart Copeland played Live Aid in 1985. The band reunited for a few benefit shows in 1986. They even kicked around the idea of making another record together that summer, but after some injuries and some introspection, they binned it, and it was never meant to be. Summers later on would reflect, and he'd said, "The attempt to record a new album was doomed from the outset. The night before we went into the studio, Stewart broke his collarbone falling off a horse, and that meant we lost our chance of recovering some rapport just by jamming together. Anyway, it was clear Sting had no real intention of writing any new songs for the Police. It was an empty exercise. So, we were robbed of more Police by a horse accident and a complacent Sting."
Almost could have been the same thing. Like a horse accident caused by a complacent Sting.
Oh, like a bee stung the horse?
Mm-hmm.
And so it bucked Copeland off of it? Maybe. Probably not, though. I don't know what caused the horse to crash, but something did. So, life goes on. Sting went on to be, well, Sting. Summers put out some solo and collab albums. Copeland joined 2 bands, and he produced soundtracks for film and TV. Various combos of the Police have reunited over time. Different pairs and 3s of them. But there's never really been serious talk of a full-scale reunion. They did get together and play a few songs because of peer pressure at Sting's wedding. And then at their Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction in 2003, they played a trio of their greatest hits. But that's about it over the span of the last few decades. In 2007, the Police reunited for a surprise performance at the Grammys, and they did a 30th anniversary world tour, which took them all the way into 2008, and then they broke up again. No new music, no future plans. But that world tour did make the Police the highest earning musicians in the world. When it was all said and done, more than 3.7 million people bought tickets to their reunion tour. It was the 3rd highest grossing tour of all time to that point. It earned a People's Choice Award for the favorite reunion tour. And I don't know how many reunion tours happened in 2008 or what scope the People's Choice reunion tour covered, but that's really cool. Also, fun side note, a thing that I learned researching that fact is that I've seen 4 of the current top 20 highest grossing tours of all time. So that's sick.
Really? That is cool.
I know, right?
Which one are you missing?
Which 16 am I missing, you mean? There's a lot that I'm missing. Beyonce's got some high charting tours I've not seen. Ed Sheeran, I've seen one of them, but not another one of them. There's just there's a slew of artists in that highest grossing tours that I've missed for one reason or another. But yeah, that's where the band left it. Did one of the largest reunion tours in history and then did not reunite. But what are you going to do? They might not work well together, but they're all still good friends. Take notes, Simon and Garfunkel, Daryl Hall and John Oates. All you people that don't speak or have lawsuits against each other, you can learn from the Police.
Yeah.
As for the other awards and accolades the band's got that aren't related to Synchronicity, Rolling Stone has ranked the Police the 70th greatest band of all time. They made it into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in their first year of eligibility. Sting, as a solo writer, made it into the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 2002. In total, the Police have netted 5 Grammys on 8 nominations, and Synchronicity also won a Juno Award up in Canada for International Album of the Year, and worldwide, to date, the Police have sold more than 42 million records, making them one of the best-selling artists of all time. They're actually sitting just above the menace Barry Manilow actually, in terms of album sales.
The Menace himself.
Yeah.
I can't believe the Menace is above the police, but they're coming for him.
No, the police are just above the Menace.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Yeah, they've got his number. They're off to arrest him for sunbathing naked near the president. And this time, I think they'll get him. But yeah, I think it's time for Factor Spin. Is the Mixtaper all ready?
He sure is.
Ooh, boy. Can't wait. Maybe he'll be like on the run from the police. Ooh, we'll have to find out what he's been up to. Anyway, bring him on in.
Hey, it's me, the Mixtaper.
Oh, hello, you perfectly law-abiding citizen.
Yes, I may be a dastard, but I know how to follow the law.
That's right, no supervillain business here.
Never stolen a thing in my life.
Only the hearts of millions.
Yeah, only the hearts of millions and one blimp.
I was leaving that part out, but hey.
Oh, also millions feels like a lie.
Well, you'll never know, really.
It's more like billions.
Hearts of billions? That'd be pretty awesome.
Anyway, you ready to get stung?
No, I'm not ready to get stung, but I fear that may happen.
I hope it does. You got an allergy that I need to be aware of?
Yeah, actually, I do have some allergies. Mostly it's cats and trees. Those get me.
Oh, okay. So as long as you don't get stung by a cat or a tree, you'll be fine.
Something like that. That's how all the allergies come from a sting, right? That's okay. I've got pills for antihistamines.
Do you know how Sting got his nickname?
You know, funny enough, I'm not so sure that I do.
Well, you're about to.
Okay. How did Sting get his nickname?
From a bee-themed sweater.
Well, bee-themed obviously makes sense. That's a good place to start because you know what stings? Bees. Well, what's a bee-themed sweater? Does it have bees on it? Is it meant to look like a bee pattern? Does it smell like honey?
It's a black and yellow striped sweater.
Oh, so he just looked like a bee. Now, where's he wearing this sweater? And who calls him Sting?
His bandmates.
Okay.
His bandmates thought he looked like a bee, so they start calling him Sting because he would perform in this black and yellow striped sweater.
A lot? Like constantly? Is that his like stage uniform?
Enough to get a nickname for it.
Okay. Did he like it? Did he not like it? I mean, not the sweater, just the nickname.
Oh, he loves the nickname.
I know he does now.
He prefers it to his real name, Gordon.
Gordon Sting. But what inspired him to get this sweater? Where'd he get it?
I think he just thought it was a nice sweater.
Just found it, loved it, threw it on?
Or maybe this was like some Inception level stuff. Maybe he wanted to, like, he was like, man, Sting would be such a cool nickname.
I love the nickname Sting.
But like, I can't give it to myself.
That's lame.
That's lame. So, and then he's like, what if I buy this black and yellow sweater and wear it all over the place?
Until people call me Sting.
And people will think I look like a bee, and then they'll start calling me Sting.
Well, then they could call him B. I mean, that could have gone awry in several different ways.
Hey, bee.
Yeah. Kind of sounds like they're trying not to swear at him if you say that.
Yeah. But no, I think he just liked the sweater.
That's really cool. Darn. I really like this.
He likes it, folks.
The best time to wear a striped sweater is all the time.
It is all the time.
One with a collar, turtleneck. But would Sting do that? Would that be the reason he's called Sting?
That's what you have to decide.
I kind of like it.
He likes it.
But there's no way this is real. I think this is a spin.
He likes it, but he's not buying it. Just like Sting maybe did with this sweater, the way you think it is.
Yeah. I just think you couldn't resist coming up with a Sting origin story. And the bee sweater was like right there, staring you in the face. What if he just looked like a bee all the time? I can't imagine. If this ends up being a fact, then it's true. But if this is not a fact, there's no chance you didn't think of it like that.
You know me very well. That's absolutely what I wanted to do. But turns out, this is a true fact.
Dang. Just sweatered up.
I was like, I should come up with a funny way for how he came up with his name. And then I Googled how he actually came up with it. They're like, from a yellow and black striped sweater. People thought he looked like a bee. I was like, well, he'll never believe that. He'll think I just made that up.
He'll never believe it.
That was low-hanging fruit.
On this episode about Synchronicity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That sweater is actually now preserved in a museum in Newcastle, Sting's hometown.
It should be, yeah.
If you're ever in Newcastle, you can go see the sweater.
That's pretty cool.
Add it to the Spin It on the Road to-do list.
A road trip to Newcastle to see Sting's sweater. Maybe we'll catch a football game. Whatever you want.
But yeah.
That was a good one. Darn, that's such a good fact.
Thank you. Ramming things up a little bit. The Police once pretended to be a jazz band.
A specific jazz band? Or like just a band that played jazz instead of like new wave rock?
They released a jazz song as a fake jazz band to mock the genre.
Oh, like a spoof.
Exactly. They wanted to poke fun at the growing jazz fusion trend in the late 1970s and released a single.
What's it called?
The song, Swinging Strings.
Okay, and what are they called as they do it?
They are called...
The Cops?
The Cops. The Cool Cats Quintet.
Interesting. And curious because there's obviously not 5 of them.
The track titled Swinging Strings featured exaggerated scatting, chaotic saxophone solos, and deliberately cheesy lounge vibes.
Just one song.
Yep.
That they put out as a single then?
Yep.
What was the reaction? Did people like it unironically? Did they understand that it was a parody spoof? Did they criticize it?
Well, of course, they didn't claim it as their own, so it took a while for people to even realize it was actually the Police.
Yeah.
But Sting's unmistakable voice eventually gave them away.
Oh, so he sings on it.
Uh-huh. It's apparently a cult favorite among hardcore fans.
Did they ever claim it? What have they said about it in the future?
Well, yeah, now they're like, oh yeah, we did that we were poking fun at the genre. They've claimed it since, but when they first did it, it was that was why they put it under a fake name, right? Was to act as if they were truly part of the genre when really they were just making fun of it.
Just outsiders looking in. But the Police like jazz.
Yeah, I think it seems like they felt the jazz fusion trend that in the late 1970s was a bit ridiculous at the time.
Leaving them behind.
They wanted to poke fun at it.
Okay, I think this one could be a spin.
Could be a spin. That they all could be a spin. That is a correct statement.
Yeah, but I just think this one is a spin.
Any particular reason?
A one-off spoof single is an interesting choice. I think it could be a lot of fun. I just don't think the Police have that kind of a vendetta against jazz music.
I mean, maybe vendetta isn't the proper way to think about it, but sure.
Yeah, I just don't know. I just don't see it. I think if they wanted to...
The only other thing I've got before you lock in an answer is that they did release the song as a limited edition vinyl later in life.
Oh, fun.
And apparently it is a rare collector's item. But other than that, feel free to lock in your answer.
A rare collector's vinyl. That's not bad. I do think this is still a spin.
Still thinks it's a spin. That's fine.
I think I'll lock that in.
Wanted to get all my facts out there. Locking it in.
Yeah, that's fair.
This is a spin.
Yeah, there it is. No fake jazz bands here. Don't spin so close to me.
Don't spin so close to jazz.
Nice.
Yeah, completely made that up. I really thought having the song in the band name would lead you towards fact. I made sure to have...
The band name led me away.
Really? Because I thought by purposely making it quintet, even though there's not 5 of them, would have actually lended a little credence to it, because you would have been like, well, why would you make up a name that didn't have the right number of bandmates? They must have done that. That's what I was going for.
I think it backfired.
That's unfortunate. I went for the double bluff, and I should have just double bluffed.
Yeah. Or even a single bluff would have done it. Or no bluff at all.
No bluff? No bluff at all?
Yeah, it would have been rough with no bluff. But you've got the stuff.
Take notes, Kanye. Well, we ready to move into fact number 3 as we continue to ramp up this classic 4?
Yeah, I love a good ramp.
Sting once wrote a song while standing on his head.
Standing on his head?
Uh-huh.
Like noggin to the floor?
Yeah.
Okay. Is he just writing words? Like singing lyrics? Or does he have a bass suspended above him somehow?
He just wrote the lyrics. Or I guess he wrote the melody in his head and then transitioned it to the... he didn't have an instrument.
Right.
He wasn't upside down playing.
Playing an instrument. That'd be a lot to process.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, sometimes that happens, if you're a songwriter and you've got a good melody starting in your feet. You want to get that to your brain. Got to flip it upside down, headstand. Get all the notes right down to the brain.
Yeah.
That's a myth. Anyway, what song is it?
It's the melody for Every Breath You Take.
Oh, he'll be watching.
But he uses headstands and other yoga-related things to spark creativity when writing songs just in general. Helps clear his mind.
Sure. Well, it gets the blood flowing a little bit, gives you something to focus on and take up part of your brain. That's interesting. Wow, I really think that's an interesting technique. You can't stand upside down on your head for long.
Yeah, I mean, he does other yoga poses too, but the melody for Every Breath You Take came to him while on his head.
I see. I think I discovered that the melody for Every Breath You Take came to him in his bed, not on his head. So I think this one's also trending spin in this specific instance. I could totally see him doing this for other songs or other, like, just musical creation moments, doing yoga, but I don't think it's true for Every Breath You Take. Plus, it's a little suspicious. You know, yoga is an activity that's really focused on breathing. So I think that could be a possible pathway for how you got to this spin, if it's not true.
This is a true fact, I believe.
You believe? What?
Yeah.
Go on.
I believe it's a true fact. Well, you're correct that there are sources that say he came up with the lyrics, every breath you take, every move you make, in the middle of the night and woke up and wrote them down.
Yeah.
But then I also found sources that said the melody, which is what I said here, the melody to every breath you take, I think came from the yoga, because I found sources that came up with that. I think both are true.
Oh, no.
That is why I said I believe, because, you know, I'd like to be transparent with my sources here. You are correct that I did see the thing about the lyrics coming from a dream, but the melody supposedly came from his yoga stuff. His bandmate Stewart Copeland apparently thought he was joking when he said that until Sting demonstrated the headstand during a studio session.
I don't believe you did that. Oh, yeah? Watch this. Flips himself upside down.
And yes, apparently, he uses yoga to influence his breathing techniques for singing. So you were kind of right about that as well.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess I'll take the loss on that point, but I'm a little skeptical.
Like I said, I agree that I found sources that talked about his dream for the lyrics, but then I also found sources, specifically Rolling Stone, where he talks about yoga.
That's decently credible.
Decently credible for the internet.
Yeah. Well, that turned everything upside down on me, standing on his head. So what's the last question here? What's our final ramp?
Oh, it's time for our final ramp.
It's going to be really funny if it's about the police getting arrested.
Sting was once accused of murder. Time to get the Spin It Mystery Department out here.
Yeah.
Find out, did Sting actually commit a murder? Was he falsely accused?
Good grief.
Definitely falsely accused.
You think Sting definitely...
It was not much of a mystery. He was definitely falsely accused.
Okay, what do you mean? How was Sting accused of murder?
Well, he just happened to be in the city where the murder took place.
Okay, what's the city?
New York.
New York. So he happens to be in New York City and he's accused of murder?
Yeah.
I have a feeling a lot of people happen to be in New York City at the time of whatever murder.
Yeah, well, you see, he made the mistake of being in New York City at the time of the murder and pissing off a dog owner.
Oh, that's no good.
Yeah, you know how dog owners can be. When a dog came up and started, like, sniffing him, he was kind of like, get your dog. Like, he reacted negatively towards the dog.
Yeah, not a dog person.
And they happen to have a true crime podcast.
A true crime podcast.
Yes.
So they accused him of murder on their true crime podcast?
Yeah.
I see.
Hey, there's this murder that just happened. Police haven't been able to solve it. I think it was Sting. And they did a whole episode where they tried to trace Sting's whereabouts during the murder, and supposedly he was unaccounted for between the hours of the murder and all these things, but it definitely was not Sting.
Definitely not. How can we be so sure?
I guess according to the podcast, I haven't listened to it, but supposedly maybe it is Sting.
I don't know, who could say.
Be careful whose dog you react negatively to. You never know when they might accuse you of murder.
Yeah, I guess that's a valuable life lesson to learn. Now, I know I don't watch a lot of television, but do you think that I haven't watched at least a little bit of Only Murders in the Building?
Oh, well, it was worth a shot.
I didn't even finish the first season, but I did get at least this far.
Oh, you got to the Sting part?
Oh, yeah.
Listen,
I watched it all unfold.
There's so many things you haven't seen that it was worth a shot.
Yeah, and we've never talked about it. I never told you I was starting it. And
Yeah,
but Steve Martin and Martin Short
Yeah.
and Selena Gomez, they're all in it. It's a great start to a series.
Well, luckily I came with a backup.
Oh,
Fact,
man.
in case this was the case. So
Do I get a
thank you
point?
for telling me before lock. No, you didn't ever locked in an answer.
Oh, I want to lock in spin.
Oh, too late.
It's not true.
It's unfortunate that you didn't lock in an answer before telling me that.
I was about to lock in an answer. I didn't think it was just going to be like a null and void fact.
Yeah, we'll see how you do on this one. Our backup fact: Sting once fought himself.
Wow, these last two facts are violent.
Yeah, man, I really was hoping you hadn't seen Only Murders in the Building.
I have, but I never would have guessed when Sting was in it. That was a real surprise.
Oh man.
Anyway, Sting once fought himself.
Yep.
Physically, in real life?
Physically in real life.
Like with his fists? Like an argument?
Yeah, well, I guess really himself is maybe a bit of a stretch.
Sure. Like a Sting lookalike?
Just somebody with the same name.
Another Sting or another Gordon?
Another Sting.
Wow. Who's another Sting?
A professional wrestler with the stage name Sting.
Sting fighting Sting?
Yeah, it was a charity wrestling match.
Now, I don't know anything much about a professional wrestler named Sting. You really, honestly, you got to go back into the 90s to get anyone I know from WWE.
Well, there's other professional wrestling than just WWE, but...
Yeah, but I don't know any of that either.
Fair enough.
So you got to go back to the 90s WWE to get any professional wrestlers I know.
Fair enough. You know John Cena.
Yeah, I guess I do. I played a Sega Genesis game that had all the wrestlers on it. Like Bret Hitman Hart.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Classics.
The Undertaker.
But anyway, yeah, there was a professional wrestler with the stage name Sting in the early 1990s, so you should know him, apparently.
I don't know. He's not WWE, apparently. There's more wrestling than that.
Yeah, no, he's not.
He wasn't in the game. That's all I know.
In the early 1990s, Sting participated in a charity wrestling event against wrestler Sting to raise money for music education programs.
So he wrestled himself. Who won? Don't just say Sting. I need to know which Sting won.
I was just about to do that. I was so about to say Sting.
You're predictable.
Sting the musician.
Yeah, because wrestling could be scripted.
Pinned Sting the wrestler with the help of his guitar.
Yeah, that feels really scripted.
Oh yeah, absolutely was scripted, please.
I know, but like excessively so.
Well,
yeah, I think this makes a lot of sense. Sting fighting Sting is pretty clever. For a charity event, could be cool. Could be a great thing to do if it was real. And could be an easy thing to lie about if it was false. Because I'm sure Googling like fun facts about Sting probably popped up like, oh, 10 facts you didn't know about Sting the wrestler. And then you went, whoa, there was a wrestler named Sting? Surely this happened, right? I don't know. I think this one's a whole sham anyway because I got the point on the last one. But I'm going to say this one's a fact.
this is a spin.
Well, then I definitely got the other one.
So I'll give you a point for the last one. So it's 3-2. I win.
I don't think that's fair. But anyway, what's this Sting and Sting?
I just made it up. I thought it was funny.
There's not even another wrestler called Sting.
No, I'm sure there is. I mean, it's probably pretty easy to come up with a wrestling name.
Well, he was never going to be in the video game then.
Yeah, just thought it was a funny title.
No, here, Sting, American retired professional wrestler, 65 years old.
Well, there you go. I told you he probably existed, but that wasn't the basis of the fact.
Yeah, fair enough.
I just thought it would be funny to say he fought himself.
He was in AEW.
Oh.
He started his career as Flash in 1985.
Ooh.
So he wouldn't have been Sting when the police were around.
But yeah, man, I'm really sad. I was so excited to do the Only Murders one and thinking you didn't know it.
Yeah, sorry. You keep trying to trick me. Every time you say someone was accused of murder, it's from a TV show. I was already right away skeptical because that's what happened to Willie Nelson when he got accused of murder in the alley.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And it was just from whatever TV show that was. Monk?
One of these times somebody's going to actually get accused of murder that we do. And you're going to be sorry.
I won't be the sorry one, but that really will be wild.
Yeah. All right, well, I think this was a fun round of Fact or Spin.
It was. Good round of police facts.
Uh-oh, I think I hear them in the distance. I should probably go cover up the blimp.
What, the police?
Yeah, you don't hear the sirens?
No. They're, probably coming after you, though. Every blimp you take, every move you make, they'll be watching you. Get out of here, Mixtaper. We'll see you next week.
Yeah!
I wouldn't be surprised if we get a phone call from him in a little while. Like a one phone call kind of situation. So we'll have to keep an eye out. But here's Connor in the meantime.
How's it going?
It's going about the same as it was right before Fact or Spin. Only I'm a little more educated about the police.
Yep, you know a couple things they didn't do and a couple things they did.
Yeah. Well, we've got album art to talk about.
We sure do.
It's a pretty surprising story behind the album art. Now, to look at it, it's like 3 strips of photos, right? And there's blue and yellow and red, the primary colors on there.
Yep.
Well, there's no way for me to accurately describe necessarily what you're looking at if you look at the album cover or Google it, because there are 36 variants of the album cover that have different photos underneath them. That's a ton. 36 variants.
It is a ton.
That puts Taylor Swift and Taylor's version vinyls to shame. Like, imagine trying to collect all the police synchronicities. You'd never be able to do it.
I bet you somebody's done it.
Almost certainly. Almost certainly somebody's done it and paid a lot of money for it. But still, the idea for so many variants was the brainchild of Norman Moore and Jeff Ayeroff, who was a record exec that would actually go on to found the Rock the Vote campaign to encourage people to participate in elections. So that's interesting. And all the photos of the band in these 36 variants were taken by Dwayne Michaels. Which version is real? Which version is legit? I don't know. But what do you think of the album cover? Is it particularly synchronous?
It's pretty asynchronous if there's so many different versions.
Yeah, well, that's a good point, actually. It's an album called Synchronicity, and 36 covers are asynchronous. Well, they're different things happening at the same time, which I guess is the whole concept behind synchronicity and the way that the police understood it.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe that makes it extra synchronous.
Ooh.
That's cool. Either way, I guess we should probably dive right into it.
Synchronicity. That's a cool city name.
Synchronicity. Yeah, well, thank goodness the album's not called that. Up first, we have one of the 2 title tracks on this album. This is a rare occurrence. I don't think that's ever happened before. Synchronicity I. Synchronicity I is an interesting case because it was a Japan-only single. They only released the single version way over there. The lyrics and just, again, the general concept for the album Synchronicity come from Carl Jung's theory of synchronicity, which is a way to understand events that happen at the same time, and they seem related, but they don't really have a tangible connection. Like, I don't know, a synchronous thing would be like if you're listening to a song on the radio and you look up and see a billboard for that song or something. I don't know. Whatever it is. Something like that. It's like ascribing meaning and connection to coincidences and connecting dots between your experiences, even if they actually have nothing to do with each other. Apparently, the ideas that like synchronicity as a concept philosophically is based on go as far back as the I Ching. And apparently there's like a lot more to dig into about it, but it seems fairly complex as a psychological tool. And so, I just tried to do a brief overview to understand it. Have you ever had anything that's been in synchronicity?
No, I'm an asynchronous kind of guy.
Yeah, well, that's true. Fair enough. Well, Sting talked about the song and a lot of these songs, but about Synchronicity I, he said that Jung believed there was a large pattern to life that wasn't just chaos. Our song is about 2 parallel events that aren't connected logically or causally, but symbolically. And that's what happens over the course of Synchronicity I and later Synchronicity II. So we'll come back to it. Actually, the songs were supposed to just initially blend right together.
Oh, really? They were supposed to be back to back?
Yeah, Synchronicity I, Synchronicity II, but in the middle, there was a psychedelic instrumental segue that they called the Loch, like L-O-C-H, which was meant to represent the Loch Ness Monster.
I was going to say like Nessie?
Yeah, like Nessie. Genuinely, they thought that the middle of this song would be like a sighting of the Loch Ness Monster, but they just couldn't get it to work the way they wanted with the transition, so they just scrapped it and scooted Synchronicity II halfway down the album. Now, they did include the Loch on the 2024 box set re-release, so you can go hear what they initially tried to have in mind. But the Loch Ness Monster, she'll come up later in Synchronicity II. But it's interesting that they were supposed to be connected at first, and they split them so far apart.
Yeah.
What did you think of the song? Is it a police song that you knew?
Yeah, I knew this one.
Okay, actually, I forgot to ask how many of these songs total you knew.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5. That's kind of a lot more than I thought, actually. But Synchronicity I was not one of them. Boy, I love the sound of it. This was the first Police record I ever listened to in full. And to put it down and listen to Synchronicity right away, with that little, sequencer part coming in, that little arpeggiated kind of thing happening, the layered vocals and harmonies, Synchronicity swept me off my feet right away. I don't know. I found a cool quote that describes the way that it felt to listen to the song for the first time. Relics magazine said, Synchronicity I is as close as the Police have ever flirted with musical anarchy. Nothing seems to fit as each musician drains himself with relentless pokes and punches that ultimately ends in a KO. And darn right, musical anarchy is such a good term for what happens on Synchronicity. It's just, wow, such a trip. And the lyrics are cool too. They talk about a connecting principle, linked to the invisible, almost imperceptible, something inexpressible, the missing link, synchronicity.
Synchronicity.
It's all there. It's all explained, roughly, outlined at least, right there in the song, and I think that's really cool. Effect without a cause, subatomic laws, scientific pause, right? Like science ceases to make sense in the face of the concept of synchronicity. That's so cool. It's just such a high energy start to the album.
It is.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And then we move into a much lower energy track, Walking in Your Footsteps, a good old dinosaur song.
Hey, Mr. Dinosaur.
How many songs do you know that are addressed to a dinosaur?
Addressed?
Yeah.
To a dinosaur? This is probably the only one. I know some other songs about dinosaurs.
Well, sure, everyone does. We all watched Barney once or twice.
But addressed specifically to them?
Yeah.
Hey, mighty brontosaurus.
Don't you have a lesson for us? It's so fun. I think it's a really interesting concept. You know, it's a song addressed to extinct dinosaurs, and it's about how dinosaurs died out and how humanity is walking in their footsteps, not learning lessons from them, as if the dinosaurs could have done anything to prevent their extinction.
Just burning them in our automobiles.
That's right. We're just exploding the atom bomb. You know, just doing things to perpetuate our own self-destruction and not learning from mass extinction in the past. It's a really curious track. It surprised me the first time. You know, walking in your footsteps, you see the title, you're like, oh, cool. It's probably another song about, like, I'll be watching you, right? Following somebody, watching, just admiring something. But no, it's all about how we're going to die like dinosaurs. He says, hey, mighty brontosaurus. I was like, what? Did I hear this right? But I love the sound of it. Like the little flute, woodwind kind of sounds that go on, the bongos and the hand drums. Like, this sounds cool, unique, unlike anything we've really kind of encountered much on the podcast. And I just like how sparse it is, how much room they give it to breathe, with the guitars that kind of sound like dinosaur roars in the background.
Roar.
Did you hear one? I heard one just now. It's just a very cool soundscape and like ambience, and I like that. Up next, coming in third, it's a little track called Oh My God.
Oh my God. Can't believe it. We're on track 3.
We are. This song is an interesting one. I like the guitar that opens this song. It just sounds cool.
Yeah, you would like the guitar, little guitar player.
Yeah, I'm a guitar liker too, but I like it.
It is pretty cool.
It is. I know. It's got like a wide open kind of sound to it that really kind of parallels the atmosphere that was in Walking in Your Footsteps in a really satisfying way to me.
You can count me in as a guitar liker if it's this guitar.
Yeah, see? Feels like a natural transition. What's interesting lyrically about the song is it's structured like a cry out for help, like a bit of a prayer from this really dark place of loneliness and helplessness. Because, you know, so much of the lyrics are take the space between us and fill it up, fill up the space between us, bring us closer.
Fill it up like a balloon.
Everyone I know is lonely, so blow up the balloon and bring us closer together. Yeah, sure. Interesting.
Now, when it says you take the biscuit, are we talking like American biscuits or like British biscuits?
Probably British biscuits, since most of the police are British.
So like cookies.
Cookies. Yeah, that's the American translation.
Shouldn't it be cake? You take the cake?
Oh, maybe that's what it is.
But that's not... But
That doesn't match the sentiment of the line. God, you take the biscuit, treating me this way, expecting me to treat you well, no matter what you say. How can I turn the other cheek? So I guess that sounds like it's a bad thing. Like you must be kidding yourself if you treat me this way and expect me to reciprocate. Taking the biscuit must mean something negative like that.
Yeah.
Let me Google it. The definition of to take the biscuit. If someone has done something very stupid, rude, or selfish, you can say that they take the biscuit, or what they have done takes the biscuit, to emphasize your surprise at their behavior.
I see.
It is British and regional. There you go. That's a new phrase you can add to your lexicon.
Is it because normally you would take the cake over the biscuit? It's like you take the biscuit? Like that's a surprise that you took the biscuit?
I don't know. You're getting too deep for my cursory knowledge that I just looked up with 1 2-second search.
Now I want biscuits.
Now I want cake.
But like American biscuits.
You want American biscuits? I'd take a British biscuit over an American biscuit any day.
British cookies aren't that good.
Unless it's biscuits and gravy.
Biscuits and gravy are so good.
Yeah, American biscuits and gravy. Imagine it the other way. Anyway, it's a whole prayer for help. Sting's not particularly religious, so the song kind of takes on this quality of like not exactly knowing who you're asking, but you're just asking for it because you just need it from any place you can get it.
I'm sure plenty of people can empathize with that.
Yeah, it's an interestingly upbeat song for as sad and helpless as the lyrical content is.
Yeah.
I also really, really love that outro lyric that he does. Do I have to tell the story of 1,000 rainy days since we first met? It's a big enough umbrella, but it's always me that ends up getting wet. That's a good one. I just like that a lot. It's always me that has to make the sacrifice. Even though there's plenty of room for both of us to stay dry, I'm the one that ends up getting the short end of the stick and standing out in the rain. It's pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you liked how Oh My God started.
I did.
But what about how Mother started and then persisted?
Chaotic. So this is another moment like Synchronicity I of just musical anarchy, right?
Anarchy.
It's audio chaos. Andy Summers wrote this one, their guitarist, and it's interesting instruments throughout. There's a 7/8 time signature. There's a lot of hooting and hollering, and it's like very like Freudian in its lyrics. Every girl that I go out with becomes my mother, and it's like this scream into the void for some escape from that cycle. It's this overprotective mother who leaves her son paranoid, and basically this song is the manifestation of that paranoia and like the fallout from being raised in the way that he was. It's intense. What do you think about Mother?
I wasn't a big fan.
No? Why not?
It's just not what I wanted.
You didn't want your mother?
You're not going to trick me into saying that.
Well, it sounds like this guy doesn't either. That's all I'm saying.
No, I don't know. I don't want anarchy. I want a song.
I love a good bit of musical anarchy in the middle of this. This one is intriguing, right? 7-8 time.
But it's not in the middle of it. It's like the whole time.
Well, in the middle of the album, it is.
Oh,
Yeah.
meh.
We're cruising through the album, and this is a nice little speed bump to kind of bring you back to earth.
Meh.
Well, maybe you don't like it, I guess. The real kicker is that Mother is 3 minutes long, and Miss Gradenko that comes right after it is 1:59. Like, it's not even 2 minutes. And I really like Miss Gradenko. That one is a fun song, cover to cover.
It is a fun song.
Also, it's interesting, too. I'm noticing that the popularity of these songs kind of works in like a sine wave, where Synchronicity I is super popular, and then Walking Your Footsteps decreases, and Oh My God decreases, and Mother decreases again. Is kind of the nadir. And then Miss Gradenko comes back up, and Synchronicity II comes back up, and Every Breath You Take skyrockets, and then it comes back down, and back down, and back down. Like, it's kind of a roller coaster of popularity. But Miss Gradenko starts to lift us up from where Mother took us. Stewart Copeland wrote Miss Gradenko, and it is, as he says, about forbidden love and a totalitarian regime. Almost like, 1984. The book, not the year, because the book existed in 1983, and the year 1984 hadn't got there yet. But, like, that theme of being in a totalitarian regime and the allusions to Big Brother, they come up again later.
Yeah.
He's, watching every move you make. Wink, wink. But boy, what a song. Is anybody alive in here? It's so catchy. Such a good hook. Nobody but us. Like, is anybody awake? Is anybody clued into the atrocities of this regime and what they're bringing on the people? It's an intense song for as compact as it is.
It's very intense.
I also just like the name Gradenko.
It's a really fun name.
It is.
How did they come up with that? Any idea?
Well, no. Well, it looks like Miss Gradenko is the name of a character in Spy Kids, but that clearly came later than this. I think that
what?
I'm choosing to believe that was inspired directly by this. Probably, because who have you ever heard of named Gradenko?
Probably.
Gradenko meaning. No, it's just about a woman inside an organization. The surname Gradenko is most frequently used in Russia, where it is borne by 23 people.
Huh.
So it is the last name of 23 people. That doesn't seem legit. I'm getting the same kind of vibes as the Monkees' Auntie Griselda. But boy, it's a good name, and they sing it in a fun way.
Yeah.
I like how they alternate between Are You Safe, Miss Gradenko, and Miss Gradenko, Are You Safe? I also really love the line, Your uniform don't seem to fit. You're much too alive in it. Like, you're not supposed to be that animated and that happy in this situation where you're supposed to conform. Just a clever little illustration for the situation.
I think this is a good middle track song.
You think?
Yeah, I think it kind of sits in the middle between, like, oh my God. Like, Mother, I pretend Mother doesn't exist.
Okay. I'm telling your mother.
But, like, between Oh My God and Synchronicity II, Miss Gradenko is a good track to fill in between those two.
Yeah, it definitely bridges that gap effectively. Because again, it pulls us back up a little more from the downward trajectory we've kind of been on.
Yeah.
Synchronicity II, instant hit for me. One of my favorites.
Oh, I love it. One of the ones I know.
I figured it would be. It is one of the more popular Police songs. It was the third single from Synchronicity and the second title track. And actually, this one came out in the US and the UK. Both of them, instead of the other singles that only came out in one or the other. It hit number 17 in the UK, number 16 in the US, and it's also still, of course, inspired by Carl Jung, but this time it tells the story of a guy who's just getting beat around by life.
Yeah.
Right? It's exhausting and it's draining, and he knows that something somewhere has to break, the lyrics say. Sting said there's a domestic situation where there's a man who's on the edge of paranoia, and as his paranoia increases, a monster, that's the Loch Ness Monster like we talked about before,
Yep.
a monster takes shape in a Scottish lake, the monster being a symbol of the man's anxiety. That's a synchronistic situation.
This time we got the whole family here. Grandmother screaming at the wall, mother chanting, daddy staring in the distance.
Oh yeah, he's disconnected. He's checked out from this reality. Many miles away, something crawls from the slime. That's his anxiety rising up to the surface as the Loch Ness Monster. But boy, this song sounds so good. Oh, it just sounds so freeing. Just the way that they structure that verse.
Yeah, I like the melody. Da 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 da.
Da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, that's incredible. Incredibly written.
It's a great little rhythm.
Yeah. Now, somebody asked Stewart Copeland how the two synchronicities were related. His vision of it was a little less clear than Sting's. He said, I've had Sting up against the wall on this issue before, and he point blank refuses to explain the connection. None of us in the band can even remember which one is which. The only way I can keep them straight is that Sync 1 has Sting's cool sequencer part, that dunga dunga dung thing that I, to this day, get all the credit for. People think it's me playing some percussive instrument and I have to put them right. It was a real Rama Llama way of starting out our set on tour, although it almost killed me to start with that kind of onslaught every night. Basically, the band doesn't even know the two synchronicities apart.
Crazy.
I know, but they're kind of hard to mix up.
Yeah. One's way better.
Yeah, it is, and it's the sequel. The sequel is maybe better than the original.
Hey, there's only a handful of times that happens.
Well, you could thank the Loch Ness Monster for that. It's honestly excellent that this song is 5 minutes long. It's one of the best songs on this album. It deserves to be that length. I can't tell for sure if I do, but I almost like it better than Every Breath You Take. Every Breath You Take is huge. That's one. That's another one. That's another one. Sure, that's great on the microphone of an audio podcast.
Uh-huh. Yep, you're welcome.
Yeah, the other week we talked about how many times you blink with Blink 182. Today we're going to talk about every breath you take. We're really just exploring the scope and frequency of all of our body's natural doings. Every Breath You Take it's got 2.3 billion Spotify streams. It was the only Police song ever to top the Billboard Hot 100, which it did for 8 weeks, and it topped the UK singles chart and the Canadian RPM charts for 4 weeks each. It was one of the best-selling songs of the year and actually would go on to be one of the best-selling songs of the 1980s. It was nominated for 3 Grammys. Every Breath You Take won Song of the Year, which is huge, and Best Pop Performance by a Duo or Group. Sting also won an Ivor Novello Award for the song. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame included Every Breath You Take as one of the 500 songs that shaped rock and roll. It's such a big hit that in 2010, they estimated that it generated as much as a third of Sting's publishing royalties. This song alone, in all of the Police's catalog and all of Sting's solo work, Every Breath You Take, as of like 15 years ago, brought in a third, 33% of Sting's royalties.
That's crazy.
That's so much. BMI, the performing rights organization, actually recognized the song as the most played song in radio history, and that's probably pretty close to accurate. It's got 15 million radio plays, so that's its major success. That's the proverbial centerpiece of the album. Honestly, the whole record's kind of a little backloaded. Sync 2, Every Breath You Take, King of Pain, Wrapped Around Your Finger is one heck of a 4-song run. What do you think about Every Breath You Take? Surely you knew it before.
Oh, dude, I love Every Breath You Take.
Oh, me too. My goodness.
I mean, it's like their biggest hit. Everybody knows this song.
Most do. Yeah, I'd say. Especially most people listening 45 minutes into the Police podcast.
Yeah. I mean, this song, Roxanne, and probably, Don't Stand So Close to Me would be 3 that I think you could play and have a 90% success rate of people knowing, at least.
You're probably right. Message in a Bottle's got to be close to that, but...
Message in a Bottle, I don't know if people would... Do people know that's the Police?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, fair enough.
Probably. I don't know what people know. But this is the one that Sting allegedly wrote standing on his head, according to the Mixtaper.
Yeah.
We don't have confirmation for sure.
Yeah, we think the melody came from standing on your head, and the lyrics came from a dream. Is that what we settled on?
Well, that's definitely what Sting said. He said, I woke up in the middle of the night with that line in my head, right? The main line in the song, Every Breath You Take, Every Move You Make. He said, I sat down at the piano and had written it in half an hour. The tune itself is generic, an aggregate of hundreds of others, but the words are interesting. He said it sounds like a comforting love song. I didn't realize at the time how sinister it is. I was thinking of Big Brother, surveillance, and control. He actually would later, in a different quote, go so far as to assert, I think the song is very, very sinister and ugly, and people have actually misinterpreted it as being a gentle little love song when it's quite the opposite.
Yeah, I don't know why people think that's... I guess just because the melody's so soft, but...
Is it romantic?
The lyrics are definitely sinister.
No, it's not romantic even a little bit. Yeah, this is a wild song to be like, oh, it's so sweet. No, it's not. One of the things that's like a signature element of the song that helps you recognize it right away. What's the first thing you hear that makes you recognize Every Breath You Take?
The first thing?
Yep.
Instantly the guitar coming in.
That's what I'm saying. Andy Summers thought up that iconic guitar part, and he played it all the way through the song in one single take. It's so impressive. He said, this is a difficult one to get because Sting wrote a very good song, but there was no guitar on it. He had this Hammond organ thing that sounded like Billy Preston. It certainly didn't sound like the Police with that big rolling synthesizer part. We spent about 6 weeks recording just the snare drums and the bass, which is wild. That's such a long time. He said it was a simple classic chord sequence, but we couldn't agree how to do it. I'd been making an album with Robert Fripp, and I was kind of experimenting with playing Bartok violin duets. and I worked up a new riff. When Sting said go and make it your own, I went and stuck that lick on it and immediately knew we had something special. He says today, Every Breath You Take is kind of an immortal guitar part that all guitar players have to learn. So that's pretty cool. I mean, with that awesome guitar part and, I don't know, just all the work they put into it. But even still, even with all that, all those hours, Stewart Copeland later said in 2000, in my humble opinion, this is Sting's best song with the worst arrangement. He said, I think Sting could have had any other group do this song and it would have been better than our version, except for Andy's brilliant guitar part. Basically, Stewart Copeland said, there's an utter lack of groove. It's a totally wasted opportunity for our band.
I don't know if I believe that.
You disagree?
Yeah, it's got groove.
I think it does too. I mean, well, maybe not groove in the sense of like most of the other Police songs. It's kind of straightforward compared to a lot of them.
Well, most of the other Police songs didn't
Didn't chart at number one.
Yeah.
Didn't sell billions.
Yeah. So, maybe they should take a better look in the mirror.
Maybe. It's wild, but what a song.
But we're on kind of a hot streak here, going from Every Breath You Take into King of Pain.
That's what I'm saying. We got such a 4 run here.
Really? Yeah, we've been on, add Synchronicity II into that. We've been on quite the little run.
Uh-huh. And then Wrapped Around Your Finger coming up next. I'm just saying. Backloaded album. King of Pain, that was the 4th single in the UK. Other places it was the 2nd single. Why not, right? Play to your markets. Give the people what they want. And over there, if the people want something different, give them something different. King of Pain got a lot of praise for the lyrics, and it hit number 3 on the US Hot 100, and it spent 5 weeks at number 1 on the top tracks chart. Over across the pond in the UK, it went to number 17 and would end up being the Police's final UK top 20 hit. And it's a deep one. This is a personal song for our Bumblebee sweatered man. It's about Sting's separation from his wife.
Oh.
Right? He and his wife went through some marital problems, had to separate, and he said, I conjured up symbols of pain and related them to my soul. A black spot on the sun struck me as being a very painful image, and I felt that was my soul up there on the sun. It's just projecting your state into the world of symbolism, which is what poetry's all about, really. Which is deep, right? That's like a deep line. He told the story of how he came up with the lyrics in a little bit more detail, too. He said, actually, it was something I said. I just left my first wife, a very painful break, and I went to Jamaica to try and pull myself together. I was fortunate to be able to go to Jamaica, and I stayed at this nice house that was looking at the sun one day. I was with Trudy, who is now my current wife, and I said, look, there's a little black spot on the sun today, and there's a pause. I said, that's my soul up there. I was full of hyperbole. I said that. Like, what a drama king. What a thing to say. That's my soul up there on the sun.
I like I guess I'm always hoping that you'll end this rain.
Yeah.
The chorus.
It's an excellent chorus. I like the way they layer the vocals on the chorus. It feels like he's wailing, right? This song still kind of sounds happy, even though it's about the King of Pain, but you can just hear the emotion in it.
Yeah.
Also, it's wild to listen to this song and how, involved the arrangement is at some points. You get to the end of the song and there's a lot of instruments happening. Apparently, they just recorded all those instruments all the time. Huh. They just started the song with every instrument and they kept playing through with that. The whole song was full band. And then they decided that it sucked. And they went in and rearranged the entire song from the booth. And said, okay, we don't want the guitar to be playing at this part. Let's cut it. We don't want the drums at this part. Let's cut it. But they started out with just everything all the time, which is crazy. There's so much from this song that got cut. Producer Hugh Padgham said, I remember this song on Synchronicity called King of Pain, which had basically everything going all the way through it. If you listen to it now, it's very stripped down and bits and pieces come in here and there. Literally everything was recorded all the way through, and I really remember that one well. Sitting down with Sting coming in one day when we were mixing the song and Sting going, this is crap. That's not what he said. I went, I think you're probably right. The thing at the back of my mind always is trying to keep things simple so you can hear what's there as opposed to the kitchen sink style, which is cool sometimes. But that's cool. Imagine a kitchen sink style King of Pain. I think it would be too much. I'm honestly really glad they did what they did and stripped it back. Also, fun fact, Alanis Morissette, who we covered on episode 73, she did a cover of King of Pain in 1999 for her MTV Unplugged record.
Was it Queen of Pain?
She might have been a Queen of Pain. Wouldn't that be ironic? I don't think so, but Alanis Morissette might. Now, this song is another one of the longest on the album. King of Pain is a full 5 minutes, just like Synchronicity II. But the longest song on the album...
The longest, Wrapped Around Your Finger.
Wrapped Around Your Finger. Oh, boy. I love this one. Wow, the harmonies in the chorus are pretty unmatched. This was remember how I said the other one was the 4th single in the UK, but the 2nd single somewhere else? Wrapped Around Your Finger was the 2nd single in the UK, and the 4th in the US. It was like the opposite of King of Pain. They were inverted. It hit number 7 in the UK, number 8 in the US, making it their last top 10 hit on the Billboard Hot 100. So, King of Pain was their last UK hit. Wrapped Around Your Finger was their last American hit. And that's just because they were released in a different order. That's unbelievable. Anyway.
Yeah, it is kind of weird.
Yeah. Sting calls Wrapped Around Your Finger a spiteful song about turning the tables on someone who had been in charge. Now, this song, as you probably heard and know, features a ton of mythology and references to things. Sting said Wrapped Around Your Finger is vaguely alchemical and probably about a friend of mine. Probably, he said. Probably about a friend of mine. And a professional psychic and my tutor in tarot with bits of Dr. Faustus and the Sorcerer's Apprentice thrown into the pot for good measure. A lot of interesting stuff in there. Probably the only song we'll ever talk about that features the word Mephistopheles.
Probably the only one, yeah.
If I had to guess.
Never say never.
Not never. Just for now. It's the only one we've done in 183 episodes.
Should we give them that award? Should that be their award?
The Mephistopheles Award?
Yeah, yep.
Sure. Congratulations, the police.
You've done it.
You've Mephistophelesed.
Mephistophelized?
Oh, that's good. I almost have to sound it out syllable by syllable every time I read it.
Yeah.
I really love that sound in there, like the chimes that kind of fall away. Pew, pew. Like, that's such a good choice. It makes the song for me. Now, have you by chance seen the music video for Wrapped Around Your Finger?
No.
Well, the music video is very dramatic and intense. It features a labyrinth made of candles, and it ends with Sting just tearing the place up, right? Smashing this candle labyrinth to the ground. Sting loved it. He said, it's incredibly atmospheric, and I think the set design is brilliant. There's nothing but all those candles, yet it conjures up so many different feelings and possibilities about the song. They really understood the imagistic approach that I wanted. That's what Sting said about this Candle Labyrinth video. Andy Summers, though, once again is at odds with Sting, and apparently just hated it. He said, I never much liked the idea for Wrapped Around Your Finger. I've never been much of a fan of that song, actually. Sting got to shoot his part last in the video and made a meal of knocking all the candles out. F him.
Dang.
That's what he said. Yeah.
Harsh opinions.
Andy Summers he's got some bite to him. Either way, though, the video was iconic enough for the Muppets to parody it. They had Miss Piggy running around a similar candle labyrinth in promos for the Muppets Take Manhattan, which I had no idea about. Miss Piggy doing the police.
That's funny.
That's come on. That's a little on the pig nose, right?
Oh, I hadn't even considered that. It's a little on the nose.
Just a smidge. But it was the 90s. Maybe it wasn't that big of a thing. I don't know. Wild. Do you like tea?
No, actually.
Oh, do you like deserts?
I like desserts.
Oh, well, it's not
Classically misspelled.
too many S's in there. No. Well, if you don't like tea and you don't like deserts, then Tea in the Sahara is probably not the song for you.
Well, I do like in and the.
Well, that's halfway, 50% of the song title you like. Tea in the Sahara is track number 10, as the police mostly pronounce it Tea in the Sahara. Honestly, I don't know which way is technically correct, but I've mostly heard it Sahara in America.
I don't call my friend Sarah.
Well, there you go. That's definitive proof. Anyway, Tea in the Sahara takes its inspiration from a novel called The Sheltering Sky by Paul Bowles.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's the title of the first part of the book, actually.
What's that about?
You know, I don't know what it's about, but luckily Sting read it, and Sting knows what it's about. He said, it's one of the most beautiful, sustained, poetic novels I've ever read. It's about Americans that regard themselves as travelers and not tourists, and I class myself in that category. I'm a hopeless tourist, but I'm constantly on the move. There was a story within that story that was a sort of Arab legend that was told in the story of three sisters who invite a prince to a tea party out in the desert to have tea. Tea in the Sahara. They have tea, and it's wonderful, and he promises to come back, and he never does. They just wait and wait and wait until it's too late. I just loved this story, and I wrote a song called Tea in the Sahara. I don't know whether Paul Bowles ever heard it. Probably not, but it's still one of my favorite songs. So that's what it's about. A short story from the first part of this novel about somebody who's not able to keep a promise and letting people down because of it. My sisters and I have one wish before we die: tea in the Sahara with you. That's pretty much what he's talking about. The princesses who are stuck out there waiting for one last chance to have tea in the Sahara. Would he ever come back? They'd climb a high dune, they'd pray to the moon, but he'd never return, and they would burn with their cups full of sand. It's honestly just another really dark song, disguised in a package that sounds really peaceful and serene.
We have ended the quadfecta.
We have.
This is an okay song.
Tea in the Sahara is okay.
But it's way better than Mother.
Yeah, well, they can't all be hits. It's not chaos. Tea in the Sahara is exceptionally structured, unlike Mother, which is just out the window. Andy Summers actually did a really cool guitar trick for Tea in the Sahara. He said, I used what I call, tongue-in-cheek, my wobbling cloud effect. He said it comes with using a highly overloaded guitar to the point of feedback and moving the chord off just as it's about to break. It's a sound I do a lot in concert, this sort of echo guitar, where I basically turn most of the signal off so that all you hear is echo. And then you control it with the volume pedal, so you just hear this floating, shimmering sound. He said you've got to play space harmonies to make it more like that. Triads with open strings, tended harmonies like ninths and 11ths and 27ths. It's really all by ear. So he's really put a lot of thought and care into the shimmery, wobbling echo on Tea in the Sahara. And I think it pays off big time for the atmosphere of the song. Sting also thinks Tea in the Sahara gets played way too fast.
Too fast?
Yeah, both recorded and live. He thought they should always slow it down more.
Really?
Which is wild, because it's already a pretty slow song.
Yeah, it's pretty slow.
I think it's the slowest song here by a lot.
Yeah, but not the longest.
No. I mean, slow it down any longer, and it could be.
Yeah.
It's close to the longest, though. What's it, number 4? 5?
Tied with Every Breath You Take, actually.
Wild. Yeah. Well, if you were listening to the vinyl record of Synchronicity when it came out, Tea in the Sahara is where your journey would end. Lucky for us, we're not listening on the vinyl record, and Murder by Numbers is added to the mix. Yeah, it got cut from the vinyl in favor of Miss Gradenko. I mean, you liked Miss Gradenko a lot. Murder by Numbers is what had to go so that it could be there.
I see.
Because the physical 12-inch record couldn't hold enough music. Like, they had the song ready and it just wouldn't fit. So, Murder by Numbers only appeared on the CD and the cassette releases of Synchronicity. That's pretty wild. Which would you rather have? Miss Gradenko or Murder by Numbers? Did they axe the right one?
Ooh, that's tough.
Yeah, it is.
I like them both for different reasons.
Murder by Numbers has probably an equally strong, like, social commentary.
I think they did axe the right one.
Okay.
Simply because I think the upper beat, Miss Gradenko has a better tempo that I think is needed that would be missing from this album if you cut it. Whereas Murder by Numbers is in that same kind of groove that some of the other songs are.
That's a good point. It's got a swing to it, but it definitely is missing the intensity.
Yeah.
And the franticness.
Yep. So I think Miss Gradenko adds something to this album.
Yeah, well, you liked it as a transitional piece already. Murder by Numbers, I mean, it's tacked on here as a closer.
Yeah.
When Tea in the Sahara is a perfectly fine closer, in my opinion.
I agree. I think it works better as a closer than it does
As the penultimate track.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, Murder by Numbers is an interesting one. It starts out with, like, instructions about how to be a serial killer, right? First, you're going to slip a tablet into someone's drink or, like, whatever. You're going to kill somebody and you're going to like it. So then you're going to do 2 or 3 people. You know, you're going to keep increasing your serial killer count. Murder by Numbers, like, here are the stats and here's how it's done. But then your numbers start to get really high. You start to have a lot of trouble killing people. And so then it pivots into this political commentary where the band suggests it's easier, so much easier to get away with murder, mass murder, if you're in a position of power in the government, right? They use lyrics like, you can reach the top of your profession if you become the leader of the land. For murder is the sport of the elected, and you don't need to lift a finger of your hand. It's probably as overtly critical of the government as they get on the album, and maybe anywhere in their catalog. I mean, it's kind of hard to beat, kind of hard to top that one. I don't know. But honestly, the first part where they're just describing serial killer tactics, it feels like a companion piece to Every Breath You Take.
Yeah.
I'll be watching you, and then also here's how you kill somebody by slipping stuff in their drink.
And then I also might mass murder you.
Yeah, maybe. Well, you can't mass murder one person.
Well, but we're watching everyone that listens to the song.
That's a decent point.
Well, have we come to the end of another album?
We sure have come to the end of another album.
Wow.
And that means we've come to another final spin of an episode. As is customary, I'll kick us off with some scores. What a fun record to discover. What an introduction to the Police. And honestly, mostly my introduction to, like, 80s new wave. Really, it's not a place that I've dabbled much to this point, but I really enjoy this album. I really enjoy the musical diversity here, this fusion of styles, like kind of the Police, I guess at this point, ditching reggae, but also blending these soundscapes and these synths and these cool guitar parts with melodies that just, like, shoot you into the stratosphere on, like, Synchronicity II and Wrapped Around Your Finger, and all of them just really captivate me. Anyway, I'm giving music a 94. I'm really impressed by the musicality on this album, even the chaos of Mother and the anarchy of Synchronicity I. Like, something about that just really draws me in and keeps me there. Lyrics, I'm giving an 89. There's a lot of really interesting, like, social commentary on here. They've got an interesting way of writing lyrics in a way that just kind of, like, catches your ear. I don't know if I'm, like, emotionally moved by many of their lyrics, but I'm certainly, like, intrigued in most of these cases. I think the lyrics do a good job of serving the songs that they're a part of, and that's important. 89 for the lyrics. Instruments and production are getting a 91. there's a lot of cool, different sounds. Like every song on this album has a unique, almost like a color palette, but sonically, right? You don't ever hear the same kind of sound in two places. And I think that's really cool. So 91 there. Overall vibe 98. I really enjoyed this album. What a way to go out. I feel like if you're the Police and you release Synchronicity and then break up, you're going out on the top of your game. And that kind of sucks. But like, what a record. You know, you burn out instead of fade away, I guess. 98 for the vibe. Synchronicity gets a total overall score of 94.0. That's hefty. That's high. That puts it at number 25 on my ranking list, landing it above Casey Musgrave's Golden Hour, but just below the Velvet Underground and Nico. So this is a heavyweight album, I think. How about you?
Wow, interesting. 94, number 25. Very interesting.
Yeah, I know. It's a high scorer. It blew me away. Synchronicity really impressed me.
Hey, sounds like you might be in the Police's pocket.
I'm in the police department.
Yeah, you're in the department. Me, I'm in the brig.
They've locked you up?
The Police is a band that I know all their greatest hits and not much of anything else.
Yeah, of course. That's not unusual for you.
Yeah, but in this scenario, at least with Synchronicity, it doesn't make me want to know anything else.
Really? Wait, what were the 5 that you said you knew again?
I knew Synchronicity 1, 2, Every Breath You Take, King of Pain, and Wrapped Around Your Finger.
Okay. I mean, good ones to know.
Yeah.
But the rest didn't get it done? Dinosaurs and...
Well, Miss Gradenko was pretty cool. I liked the dinosaur thing and walking in your footsteps, but the song was just okay. But the dinosaur part was cool.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it's just kind of there. I mean, it wasn't like, oh, I hated this, except for Mother. But it was just like, when you've got Roxanne and Every Breath You Take and Don't Stand So Close to Me, Message in a Bottle, all that stuff. And then you get into a bunch of music that they think is better than that because it has more groove, which they're just wrong about, I guess, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, they said Every Breath You Take doesn't have the groove.
That's what I'm saying. So they think that the rest of their stuff is better because it does.
I suppose. That's kind of what that would imply.
Yeah, and that then to be their best, it's like, I feel like you're out of touch with what people like about your sound. Which you're not necessarily doing it for the people. I mean, artists do things for themselves all the time.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I like the sound you get on their big hits, and then everything else they're doing, there's a reason it's not a big hit, in my opinion.
I think you were too familiar with the Police, is what it sounds like. Like you knew too much of them.
I think that might be what's happened here. It's possible.
I came in cold, and this album was able to impress me because I didn't know much. You came in and knew the greatest hits. And
yeah, it's kind of a Beach Boys effect, where I knew a couple Beach Boys songs that I was like, heck yeah, love this, and then the album just completely was underwhelming.
Because it wasn't all like the Beach Boys that you knew and loved.
Exactly, and I think that's what's happened here.
Wow. Well, how bad is it?
And I think the timing of this episode really doesn't help either, because I just came off of watching the finale of The Voice that I think I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, Sting featured on.
You did.
And the artists all did, Sting songs and Police songs where he accompanied them. And they did all the big stuff, right? And I was like, heck, so it just really got me in the mood for their music. And then I realized we were doing that episode. I was like, heck yeah. And then it was just like, none of that. So I think the timing just wasn't... I got myself all hyped up with all their big stuff, and then got hit with an album of not that.
Yeah, hit with an album that features their biggest hit of all time.
Yeah, and then a bunch of other stuff.
Well, a bunch of other good stuff.
Some of it.
Wow.
So for me, this one is getting 6 dinosaurs out of 10.
Oh, goodness. Wow. For a band that you knew and presumably liked. Wow.
And what's really funny is I think all 3 bands that this has happened to me on have ended up with 6s. Beach Boys got a 6. Rascal Flatts got a 6.
Yeah.
And now the Police.
I guess so. That's what the year Discovery is all about, I guess.
It seems to be where I put them. Yeah.
Now, what that tells me is that I'm right about being wrong, and that Ghost in the Machine, maybe, has a better shot. If it's the older Police, the style that you're more accustomed to, I bet if we backtrack Ghost in the Machine, you'd probably find a lot more to like, even in the non-hit tracks.
We'll find out.
We will find out. We'll have to do backtracks.
If/when we backtrack.
Well, that's Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic.
But yeah, this one's getting 6 dinosaurs out of 10 as a unit.
Okay, 6 dinosaurs. Hey there, Mr. Brontosaurus. You don't have a 7 for us.
Yeah, and you know what? I kind of think I want to go with 6 brontosauruses.
Oh.
I think I want to get specific with my dinosaur.
Mr. Brontosauruses?
Maybe 6 misters?
Well, that doesn't make any sense. I was thinking, because they say 6 Mr. Brontos. Hey there, Mr. Brontosaurus.
Yeah, 6 Mr. Brontosauruses out of 10.
Love it.
Going right. Again, we're hitting a section of my scores that I don't listen to enough, and I'm just thinking of what's on the playlist, and it's making me like it better than this album, but I don't remember all the other stuff on it. So it's a dangerous game I'm playing right here, but he's gonna slot, the police are gonna slot in right below the Wildlife.
Oh, the wildlife and goodbye to all of that, 2023.
Actually, right above them. I changed my mind.
Oh.
Right above them.
Okay, below Ariana Grande. And thank you next.
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
So, better than the Beach Boys. The Beach Boys were just a complete shock.
That was a disaster of an episode.
Yeah, that was a disaster of an episode. This one, I'm not surprised by what I heard. It's just not what I wanted.
It's close to the police.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, okay, yeah, this is the police. This is what a non-hit from the police would sound like.
That's the sound of the police.
Wee, wee, wee.
Well, that is not how the song. Anyway.
As for my top 3 in album order,
Oh boy, what's it gonna be?
kicking off with a honorable mention
To Murder by Numbers. That'd be fun. Where would you go from there?
to Synchronicity II.
Whoa, you're skipping the whole first half of the album.
Sure am. But that's because you just go in that terror of Every Breath You Take, King of Pain, and Wrapped Up Around Your Finger. That all have to be in my top 3.
So your top 3 is just that big chunk in the middle.
Yeah, it's a tear.
So that's probably the strongest 4-track run we've seen in a long time.
Yeah. Part of me wanted to give honorable mention to something a little earlier up the album, but I just really like that Synchronicity II beat.
Yeah.
Didn't feel right not giving them a mention.
Yeah, that's fair.
So here we are. Playlist picks.
Here we are, playlist picks. I thought long and hard about this.
Every Breath You Take.
That's your pick?
Yeah, I'll just make it easy for you. I'll let you pick whatever you want for the other one.
I don't know what I want. I've gone back and forth between a lot of them over the course of things. Synchronicity 2 is really good. I just really enjoy that. It's half a title track, but I also really like Wrapped Around Your Finger and the rich vocal harmonies that come up on that chorus. It sounds so good. Those are probably my top contenders. And since Every Breath You Take is slower, I guess, and more similar in style to Wrapped Around Your Finger, I guess I'll take Sync 2.
Sync 2, back-to-backs.
Yeah.
Like we like to do it here on the Spin It podcast.
It just happens that way. It's just how it goes. Well, there you go. That's the episode. Come back next week, and we'll do it again. Do it all over again.
But with a different artist album. Well, yeah, different artist, different album.
Everything else will be done all over again.
Everything else is pretty much the same. I
Yeah.
mean, it's still going to be you, me, the mixtaper. Still going to do the same format. Yeah, really just artist and album changing up.
Yeah, and a lot of new information. That's what I love. So much to learn, so much to hear.
So much to learn. The knowledge.
Think about it all. You can get that knowledge wherever you find your podcasts. And you can find us on social media at SpinItPod Official on Instagram and at SpinItPod most other places, but especially on X. And find us on our website, www.spinitpod.com.
Make sure to tell a friend about the podcast. Podcasts grow by word of mouth.
Yeah, it's very true.
If you're wondering, man, I got so many friends. I'm just a super popular person. Who do I tell? Well, tell them all. But if you don't want to do that, maybe pick somebody specific. Maybe somebody that you would go have tea in the Sahara with. You could talk about the podcast over a nice cup of tea.
Yeah, and then promise to come back and never come back.
Maybe eating some English biscuits.
Oh, yeah, and gravy.
Yeah, well,
Not
if they're English biscuits.
What if it's English gravy?
Ooh, but I think that's all we got.
I think so.
Are we forgetting anything?
No.
Keep spinning.
Well, keep spinning. Whoa, you snuck that one up on me. You know, I'm honestly proud that the Mixtaper didn't even try to lie about the police being arrested.
Oh, he thought about it. Oh, my phone's going off. Looks like it's the police. Uh-oh. Is this the one phone call from the Mixtaper?
The police?
I bet you this is his one phone call.
Is it the police like the band or the police like the police?
I won't know till I answer the phone, so I guess I gotta get off of here and find out what's going on.
Okay, well, if it's the police, tell Sting I said hi. Tell him to be nicer to dogs.
Where's that? I hope I got bail money.
Wait, is Sting in jail?
The Mixtaper.